So what do you do when you're just starting off with a campaign? This is what we do best, right? We figure out exactly how to make sure that you are targeting, the right people from the beginning. And so a big mistake that I think people make, and hopefully Mirza, we help you not make this mistake. A big mistake that people make is they go really broad in the beginning because they're like, all right, I just want to do a CPV campaign. I'm going to go really broad and see what works and then narrow down, or then, do something else. Or they just do placements from the beginning. And you can do placements. It's low-hanging fruit because you're selecting the very specific videos, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. The problem with placement campaigns is it's very hard to scale long-term. And so, everybody who's ever taken, there's kind of these second-rate courses out there, things like that, education out there where they only talk about placements. The problem with that is, you'll set up these placements, you'll get great results at the beginning, but then when you try to scale that, there's only so many views those placements are getting. And so what we found is taking that 3D targeting approach where you have the demographics, where you have the actual video somebody's watching, and you also have the audience, right? So who that person is, and you're layering all three of these together. That's how you're going to pinpoint that perfect person. And so what I would say is typically I would recommend starting with a CPV campaign that's actually layered like that. To get some of that conversion data. And what we have a lot of our clients do, and we actually have a map, we map it all out for them. We have actually our flow chart of exactly what to do each step. It's kind of funny, we've had some clients even print it out and kind of, we had multiple clients go to like, Kinko's or whatever and print out a huge version of our flow chart, which really says step by step, all right, do this, do that. If this campaign doesn't fully spend, then increase the TCPA by that amount, test it over here. And it really has a flow chart of exactly what to do, so you can kind of follow along. But just to kind of explain, where we would start with this is we would simultaneously run some of these CPV campaigns that are layered, audiences and keywords, and at the same time run a TCPA or target cost per action campaign, sometimes max conversions, just depending on the person and how you're able to run that simultaneously. So the CPV campaign starts to get some of these conversions coming in. Usually that's the first one to start running. We're starting to see, okay, what keywords are working, what audiences are working. And then at the same time, we're running the TCPA, which is ultimately almost always outperforms a CPV campaign. Now, for those of you guys who are watching, you don't know what these terms are. CPV means cost per view. So on YouTube, you only pay if somebody watches 30 seconds or more of your YouTube ad. And so if you have a CPV campaign, you're basically paying for the people that actually watch that beyond that 30-second mark. Now, that's great at the beginning because that means you can get a lot of viewers, especially if you do some of this layering here, right? Where they're on a certain website, they're actually watching a specific video, they're in a certain demographic, right? And you can pinpoint the right person. But long-term, you want to really lean into the Google algorithm so that the Google algorithm can start to serve you the people most likely to actually convert, most likely to actually be a lead. And so on the other side, what you'll do is you'll simultaneously be running what's called a TCPA, target cost per action campaign. Now, this is another big thing that people don't do when they start advertising is they'll just do a max conversions. And we have found that we get better results by manually doing a TCPA, which is kind of like the best of both worlds, right? You actually have a manual bid component. You're bidding per action. So, somebody to actually, opt in to your webinar, to your VSL, to get a free report, whatever that next step is, you're bidding. And you can adjust that, so you can raise it or lower it, especially if you want to scale, you can raise it slightly. But that way you have a little bit more control over that campaign as opposed to a max conversion where you're basically giving a budget. That's kind of like how Facebook works too. You're giving a budget and you're just telling Google to spend all of that budget and get as many conversions as possible within it. And so that's where you would run a CPV, a TCPA at the same time. And then ultimately the plan is going to be to pull the CPV away and just scale the TCPA campaign. So that's getting a little bit into the weeds, but I know last time when we were talking about this on the AMA, you guys were like, hey, dive into the weeds. We want to hear about, some of the strategies that are working the best. And this is what we do, literally like every day with our clients too, is dive in and be like, all right, this is how you start. Here's where you go and going from there.